I was 12 years old the first time I understood that love in my family wasn't divided equally. My brother Jason had just turned 16, and Mom threw him a party that looked like something out of a magazine. Catered food, a DJ, decorations that must have cost hundreds of dollars. She'd been planning it for months, talking about it constantly, making sure every detail was perfect for her precious boy. When my birthday came 4 months later, she handed me $40 and told me to have fun at the mall with my friends. I remember standing in the kitchen, holding that money, feeling something crack inside my chest. I didn't cry. I just smiled and said thank you because even at 12, I already knew that making a fuss would only make me the problem. That was the pattern of my entire childhood. Jason got the newest gaming systems while I got hand-me-down clothes from cousins. He got a car for his 17th birthday, while I was told I could save up for my own. When he barely graduated high school with a 2.0 GPA, Mom bought him a laptop and talked about how proud she was. When I graduated with a 4.0 and a full scholarship to state, she said that was nice and asked if I could help Jason with his community college applications. I told myself it didn't matter. I told myself I was strong, independent, that I didn't need validation. I threw myself into school, into building a life that didn't revolve around waiting for crumbs of affection from a mother who had already decided which child deserved her devotion. But it did matter. God, it mattered so much. I was 28 when everything finally exploded. I'd graduated college, then grad school, and built a successful career as a financial consultant. I had my own apartment, my own car that I'd bought with my own money, a retirement account, savings. I'd done it all myself, without a dime of help from my family. Jason, on the other hand, was 32 and still living with Mom in the house I'd grown up in. He'd bounced from job to job, never keeping anything longer than a few months. He'd been fired from a grocery store for showing up late too many times. Quit a warehouse job because it was too hard on his back. Got let go from a call center for attitude problems. And Mom enabled every bit of it. She paid his car insurance, his phone bill, bought his food, did his laundry. She made excuses for every failure, blamed every boss who fired him, justified every reason he quit. He was her baby, her boy, and somehow in her mind, he needed protection from the cruel world that just didn't understand him. I visited maybe once a month, obligatory Sunday dinners where I sat and listened to Mom talk about Jason's latest opportunity while barely asking me about my life. I'd stopped volunteering information years ago. Why bother when her eyes glazed over whenever I talked about my work? Then came the phone call that changed everything. It was a Tuesday night, around 9 p.m. I was in my home office, reviewing a client portfolio when my phone rang. Mom's name flashed on the screen. I almost didn't answer. We just had Sunday dinner 3 days ago, and she never called just to chat with me. Hello, Emma. Her voice was tight, strained. I need you to come over. Now. My stomach dropped. What's wrong? Are you okay? Just come, please. She hung up before I could ask anything else. I grabbed my keys and drove to the house, my mind racing through terrible possibilities. Heart attack, break-in, fire. Something had to be seriously wrong for her to call me like that, with that tone in her voice. The house looked normal when I pulled up. Lights on, no emergency vehicles, no obvious signs of disaster. I let myself in with my old key. Mom, in the kitchen. She was sitting at the table, papers spread out in front of her, her face pale and drawn. Jason was there too, slumped in his chair, looking angry and defensive. What's going on? I asked, my heart still pounding. Mom pushed a paper across the table toward me. We need your help. I picked it up. It was a notice from the bank. Foreclosure proceedings. I scanned the document, not quite believing what I was seeing. Then I looked at the amount owed. $87,000 in debt on a house that should have been paid off years ago. I don't understand, I said slowly. Dad paid off the mortgage before he died. That was almost 10 years ago. I took out a home equity loan, Mom said, not meeting my eyes. A few of them, actually. For what? Silence. I looked at Jason. He was staring at the table, jaw clenched. For what, Mom? Jason needed help getting started, she said defensively. He had some business ideas, some opportunities. We invested in his future. I felt something cold settle in my chest. What kind of business ideas? He was going to start a car detailing business, she said. We bought the equipment, the supplies. And then there was the cryptocurrency thing. Jesus Christ, I whispered. Watch your mouth, Mom snapped. How much did you give him? That's not the point. How much? She pressed her lips together. Over the years? Maybe 90,000. But that's not. $90,000. I couldn't breathe properly. You took out loans against your house to give him $90,000? To invest in his future, she corrected. He's my son. I believed in him. I looked at Jason. And what happened to all these business ventures? He finally looked up at me, his eyes hostile. Not everyone can be perfect like you, Emma. Some of us actually take risks instead of playing it safe with boring office jobs. Playing it safe? I repeated, my voice dangerously quiet. I worked 2 jobs through college. I paid my own way through grad school. I built my career from the ground up without asking anyone for a single dollar. That's not playing it safe. That's called being responsible. Not everyone's good at school like you, Mom interjected. Jason has other talents. He just needs the right opportunity. Stop, I said, holding up my hand. Just stop. I don't want to hear about his potential or his opportunities. I want to know why you called me here. Mom took a deep breath. The bank is going to foreclose in 60 days unless we can catch up on the payments. We owe $17,000 immediately to stop the proceedings, and then the regular payments after that. I was hoping you could help. The word hung in the air between us. Help, I repeated flatly. A loan, she said quickly. I'll pay you back. We just need to get caught up, and then… No. The word came out harder than I intended, but I didn't take it back. Mom's eyes widened. What? No. I'm not giving you money. Emma, I'm about to lose my house. The house you used as a piggy bank to fund Jason's failures? That house. How dare you? Jason snarled, standing up. You've always looked down on me. I've watched Mom sacrifice everything for you your entire life while you've done nothing but take. I shot back, standing too. When was the last time you paid for anything? When was the last time you held a job for more than 3 months? You don't know what it's like. To what? To be an adult? To have responsibilities? You're 32 years old, Jason. 32. Most people your age have careers, families, mortgages of their own. And you're still living with Mommy, taking her money, letting her pay your bills while she loses her house. Emma, Mom's voice cracked like a whip. That's enough. He's your brother. And I'm your daughter, I said, turning to her. Your daughter who you've ignored and dismissed and treated like an afterthought for my entire life. Your daughter who did everything right, who never asked you for anything, who built a successful life on my own. And the first time you call me, the first time you actually need me, it's to clean up the mess you made by choosing him over and over again. Tears were streaming down Mom's face now. I never chose. Yes, you did, I said, and my voice broke. Every single day, you chose him. His party over my birthday. His car over my college help. His dreams over my achievements. You chose him every time, and now you're surprised that he can't stand on his own because you never made him learn how. I need help, Mom whispered. I'm asking you for help, and I'm saying no. The silence that followed was deafening. You're really going to let your own mother become homeless? Jason asked, his voice dripping with disgust. I looked at him for a long moment. Mom's not going to be homeless. She's going to make a choice. She's going to figure out how to fix this situation herself, just like I've had to figure out everything in my life myself. Maybe she'll sell some things. Maybe you'll finally get a job and actually contribute. Maybe she'll downsize to something she can actually afford. But I'm not writing a check to enable this dysfunction anymore. Anymore? Mom's voice rose. You've never helped us with anything, because you never asked me to help with anything reasonable. I shouted back. You never asked me to help with groceries or bills or normal things. The first time you call me is to bail you out of a hole you dug by throwing money at Jason's pipe dreams. Do you know what I could have done with $90,000? I could have bought my own house. I could have started my own business. But I would never have asked you for that kind of money because I was raised to be independent and responsible. Jason was raised to believe that Mom would always save him, and now you're both drowning because of it. I grabbed my purse and headed for the door. If you walk out that door, don't bother coming back, Mom said, her voice cold. I stopped, my hand on the doorknob. For a second, I almost turned around, almost apologized, almost offered to help because that's what I'd been conditioned to do my entire life. Make myself smaller, quieter, more agreeable so I wouldn't be a burden. Instead, I opened the door and walked out. I didn't talk to my mother for 3 months after that. At first, I waited for her to call and apologize. Then I realized she was waiting for me to call and apologize. We were at a stalemate, both of us too stubborn and hurt to make the first move. I told myself I didn't care. I went to work, spent time with friends, dated a little. I didn't need her. I'd been essentially without her my whole life anyway. But late at night, lying in bed, I felt the weight of it. The loneliness. The grief for a relationship that had never really existed in the first place. I wasn't mourning what I'd lost. I was mourning what I'd never had. Then my Aunt Linda called. Dad's sister, the one who'd always been kind to me, who'd noticed the disparity and how Mom treated us kids. Your mother's house sold, she told me. Short sale. She and Jason moved into an apartment on the south side. My stomach twisted. She lost the house. She couldn't make the payments. I try to help Emma, but I don't have that kind of money. Neither does anyone else in the family. I know. She's not doing well. She's aged 10 years in 3 months. Jason's working at a warehouse, but he hates it and I don't know how long it'll last. Good, I thought viciously, then felt guilty for thinking it. She's too proud to call you, Aunt Linda continued. But I think she wants to. I think she knows she messed up. Did she say that? Not in so many words. But I know my sister-in-law. She's hurting. So am I said quietly. I know, honey. I know. After we hung up, I sat with that information for a long time. Part of me felt vindicated. She'd learned a hard lesson about consequences, about enabling, about choices. But another part of me just felt sad. Sad for all of us, for the family we could have been but never were. I still didn't call. 4 months after our fight, I got an email from Jason. The subject line was just, "Please read." I almost deleted it. Instead, I opened it. Emma, I'm not good at this stuff, so I'm just going to say it. Mom had a heart attack. She's okay, she's alive, but it was bad. The doctors said it was stress. She's in County General, room 437. I know you're mad at us. I know I fucked up. I know Mom fucked up. You were right about everything. I've been a deadbeat, and Mom let me be one, and now we're all paying for it. I'm not asking you to forgive us. I'm just telling you in case you want to see her. Jason. My hands were shaking as I read it. Then read it again. I grabbed my keys. The hospital was 30 minutes away, but I made it in 20. I found a room, stopped outside the door, tried to calm my racing heart. She looked so small in the hospital bed. Pale, thin, older than I remembered. Monitors beeped around her. And 4 drip fed into her arm. Jason was sitting in a chair beside her bed, looking exhausted. He glanced up when I walked in, and something like relief crossed his face. I'll give you 2 some time, he said quietly, standing up. Wait, I said. He stopped. Thank you for telling me. He nodded, then left. I walked slowly to the bed. Mom's eyes were closed. I wasn't sure if she was asleep or just resting. I know you're there, she said softly, without opening her eyes. I sat down in the chair Jason had vacated. How are you feeling? Like I had a heart attack. She opened her eyes, looked at me. You came. Of course I came. Tears welled up in her eyes. I didn't think you would. After what I said. You're still my mother. She let out a shaky breath. I'm sorry. I wasn't expecting that. For a moment, I couldn't speak. I'm sorry, she said again, stronger this time. For everything. For how I treated you. For taking you for granted. For always putting Jason first. You were right about all of it. Mom, Let me finish, she said. Please. I need to say this. I nodded. I always thought you were so strong, so capable, so independent. You never needed me the way Jason did. You were smart and driven, and you figured things out on your own. And somewhere along the way, I used that as an excuse to focus all my attention on him, because he was struggling. I told myself I was just helping the child who needed it more. She paused, wiping at her eyes. But I was wrong. You needed me too. You needed a mother who showed up to your events, who celebrated your achievements, who made you feel seen and valued. And I failed you. I failed you over and over again, and by the time I realized it, I didn't know how to fix it. So I just kept going with what I knew, which was taking care of Jason. Why? I asked, my own voice thick with tears. Why was it so easy to overlook me? Because you never demanded anything, she said. You never made a fuss, never complained, never asked for help. And I took advantage of that. I took you for granted because I knew you'd be okay, and I convinced myself that meant you didn't need me. But everyone needs their mother. Everyone needs to feel loved and prioritized. And you deserve that from me, and I didn't give it to you. I was crying now, really crying, the kind of tears that come from a deep, old wound finally being acknowledged. I don't expect you to forgive me, Mom continued. I know I've done too much damage. But I needed you to know that I see it now. I see what I did, and I'm sorry. You were the better child all along, and I treated you like you were less important. That's something I'll have to live with. We sat in silence for a while, both of us crying. I was so angry. I finally said, I'm still angry. You have every right to be. But I don't want to be angry anymore. I'm tired of it. She reached out her hand. After a moment, I took it. I can't change the past, she said. But if you'll let me, I'd like to try to do better. Not for money or favors, or because I need something from you. Just because you're my daughter and I love you, and I should have been showing you that all along. What about Jason? She sighed. Jason is on his own now. Not out of cruelty, but because I finally understand that I wasn't helping him. I was crippling him. He's working full-time, paying half the rent on our apartment, managing his own bills. He's not happy about it, but he's doing it. And for the first time, I'm proud of him for actually accomplishing something instead of just proud of him for existing. That must have been hard. Losing my house, having a heart attack, nearly dying, that was hard. Setting boundaries with Jason was actually the easiest part once I accepted that I'd been wrong. I squeezed her hand. I don't know if I can just forget everything. I'm not asking you to. I'm asking for a chance to build something real with you. Something that should have been there all along. I stayed at the hospital for 2 more hours. We talked about everything. My childhood, her choices, the resentment I'd carried. She didn't make excuses. She didn't get defensive. She just listened, really listened, and apologized for specific things, specific moments when she'd failed me. It wasn't a magic fix. Years of hurt don't evaporate in one conversation. But it was a start. Over the next year, things slowly changed. Mom got out of the hospital and started cardiac rehab. I visited her at the small apartment she shared with Jason, and for the first time, she asked about my work, my life, my goals. She actually listened, engaged, remembered details for next time. Jason and I had our own conversation one night over cheap pizza in their cramped living room. He apologized too, more awkwardly than Mom, but genuine. I was jealous of you, he admitted. You made everything look so easy. School, work, life. And I was struggling with everything. Instead of trying harder, I just leaned into being the screw-up because at least then I got attention. That must have been exhausting. It was. It is. This working thing sucks, but I don't know. I kind of like having my own money, making my own decisions, not having to ask Mom for gas money like I'm 16. Growth looks good on you, I said. He smiled just a little. Don't get used to it. I'm still a work in progress. Aren't we all? The real turning point came on my 30th birthday. I wasn't expecting much, maybe a card, a phone call. That would have been more than enough, more than I'd gotten for most birthdays. Instead, I got a knock on my door at 8 a.m. Mom was standing there, holding a cake carrier and a wrapped present, with tears already forming in her eyes. "Happy birthday, sweetheart," she said. "I know I'm 20 years late, but I'd like to celebrate you properly if you'll let me." The cake was homemade, chocolate with raspberry filling, my favorite since I was a kid. A favorite she'd somehow remembered despite never making it for me before. The present was a framed photo of me at my college graduation, one she'd barely shown up for, but she'd kept the photo all these years. The inscription on the frame read, "To Emma, who did it all herself. I'm sorry I wasn't there to help, but I'm so proud of who you became anyway. Love, Mom." We sat on my couch eating cake for breakfast, and she told me stories about me as a little girl, stories I'd never heard because she'd always been too busy talking about Jason. She told me about the time I'd organized all my stuffed animals by size and color at age 4, about how I'd taught myself to read before kindergarten, about how determined I'd been to do everything myself, even when help was offered. "You were always so independent," she said, "even as a toddler. And I think I mistook that independence for not needing love. But independence and needing love aren't mutually exclusive. I should have known that." "You're here now," I said. "That's what matters." The following Christmas was different too. Mom insisted on having dinner at her apartment, but she made it clear it was about celebrating both her kids, not just Jason. She asked me about my year, my accomplishments, my challenges. She bragged to Aunt Linda about a promotion I'd gotten. She gave me a gift that showed she'd been paying attention to my interests, a first edition of my favorite book that she must have spent weeks tracking down. Jason gave me a gift card, and a card that said, "Thanks for not giving up on us, Jay." It was the most thoughtful thing he'd ever given me. We weren't a perfect family. We still had awkward moments, old patterns that crept back in, tensions that flared up. Jason still sometimes fell into his old habits of expecting things to be handed to him. Mom still sometimes made excuses for him, but when I called her out on it, she stopped. She listened. She corrected course. That was the difference. She was trying. 2 years after Mom's heart attack, I bought my first house. A small 3-bedroom with a yard, nothing fancy, but mine. I was proud of it, proud that I'd achieved it on my own. Mom and Jason both helped me move in. Well, Jason helped move furniture. Mom mostly directed us and unpacked kitchen boxes, but having them both there, working together to help me, meant something I couldn't quite put into words. "You did good, kid," Jason said, flopping onto my new couch after we'd brought in the last box. "This place is great. Thanks." Mom walked through the room slowly, touching walls, looking out windows. When she came back to the living room, she had tears in her eyes again. Happy tears this time. "I'm so proud of you," she said. "I know I don't have any right to be proud since you did this all yourself, but I am. You're amazing, Emma. You always have been." "You can be proud," I said. "You're my mom. That's allowed." She hugged me, really hugged me, the kind of hug I'd wanted my whole childhood but never got. "I love you," she whispered. "I know I didn't show it before, but I love you so much." "I love you too, Mom." And I meant it. The old wounds didn't disappear. Sometimes I still felt that old resentment bubble up, especially when I thought about everything I'd done alone, everything I'd missed out on. But I was learning to let it go bit by bit because holding on to it was only hurting me. My mother made mistakes. Terrible, hurtful mistakes that shaped my entire childhood and young adult life. She chose my brother over me repeatedly, took me for granted, made me feel invisible in my own family. But she owned it. She apologized. She changed. Not everyone gets that. Not every parent is capable of that kind of growth and accountability. Mine was, eventually, and that was worth something. Last month, I got a promotion to senior consultant, a huge career milestone I'd been working toward for years. The salary increase was substantial, the title impressive, the opportunities for growth enormous. Mom was the first person I called. "Emma, that's incredible," she screamed into the phone, and I could hear the genuine joy in her voice. "I'm so proud of you. We're celebrating. I'm taking you to dinner this weekend. Wherever you want to go, my treat." "Mom, you don't have to. I want to. I want to celebrate my brilliant, successful daughter who just became a senior consultant. Let me do this. So I let her. We went to a nice Italian restaurant, just the two of us, and she toasted me with wine and bragged to the waiter about my accomplishment and asked me a million questions about what the new role would entail. For the first time in my life, I felt truly seen by my mother. And it felt like coming home to a place I'd never been before. I'm not going to pretend this is a fairy tale ending where everything is perfect now. My relationship with my mother and brother is still complicated. There are still moments of hurt, still echoes of old patterns, still work to be done. But it's better. We're better. And sometimes, better is enough. Sometimes, the people who hurt you most can't or won't change. They'll keep making the same mistakes, offering the same excuses, refusing to see their part in the damage they've caused. But sometimes, rarely, beautifully, they wake up. They see what they've done. They do the hard, painful work of changing. My mother almost lost everything before she understood what she'd been doing to me, to Jason, to our family. The house, the money, nearly her life. All of it had to crumble before she could see clearly. I'm not grateful for the pain of my childhood. I'm not thankful for the years of feeling invisible and unimportant. But I'm grateful for where we are now. For the relationship we're building together. Late but real. For the mother who finally showed up, even if it took 30 years. That night, after dinner, Mom dropped me off at my house. "Thank you for giving me another chance," she said before I got out of the car. "Thank you for being worth it," I replied. "I meant that too."